folks. Welcome to Winning on Wednesday. My name is Juan Vitas, and I'm the co-founder of Winning on Wednesday. Winning on Wednesday is a platform that meets every Wednesday at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And the purpose that we're there to is to build meaningful relationships and to help help business you grow your business and expand your network and promote your brand. And we encourage the relationships of doing business. I often say people do business who they know, like, and trust. And today I have the pleasure to introduce my friend and a fellow networker, Adrian Miller. How are you, Adrian Miller?
I am great. I'm very happy to be here. When I got your invitation, I was just like, oh, this is going to be so much fun. And
Oh, excellent. Thank you. So I know we're going to go through the whole entire story of your early years, but just quickly tell the audience of who you are in 60 seconds. Just tell us who you are.
Okay, yeah, otherwise the entire story of all my years, hang on folks, get a snack or maybe a meal to be able to participate in this. Um, I am a sales consultant, business development consultant, and sales trainer, primarily as my core company, which was started 3 decades ago. I'd say it's about almost 2 decades now, I started writing. I wrote a book, and then people started asking me to write for them. So I write content. I think I'm particularly good at it because I write content from the perspective of knowing you're writing content because you want to get more eyeballs, and more eyeballs will lead to relationships and potentially business. And I know how to craft things with that in mind. And as Juan knows, I run a networking community. And so all three are really focused on building and expanding business and
Ex-
getting more of it and growing your existing business. So that's
Excellent.
the 60-second pitch.
Thank you. Thank you. So tell
You're
us
welcome.
about your early years. Tell us about where were you born? Where were
Okay.
you raised?
All
So
right.
tell us about that.
Okay. All right. The Cliff's Notes version. I was born in New York, lived in Manhattan, lived in Queens with my family. My family is just my parents and myself. I adore Manhattan and New York, and I've lived in some other places, but I got my start here and I love it. Um, I was an only child, and my father passed away quite young. And then my mother and I wound up in Queens, went to college. My thinking was I was going to be a social worker. I went to Queens College.
Okay.
Uh, I thought I would be a social worker or something like that, teacher, and got out of school, and immediately did not I took a job as a nursery school assistant teacher, and while the kids were really cute, I hated it. um, really hated it. So then I had to kind of think, went back to grad school in urban planning. Enjoyed that, work for the Boston Redevelopment Authority when I was in grad school. But when I came back to New York after Boston, living in Boston, that's when really I started being engaged more in marketing and sales, reacting to not really knowing what I was doing. So some of my first corporate jobs, um, my first corporate job, that actually my first one, what really was a trajectory, was I worked in an ad agency that handled entertainment clients. Kiss,
Oh,
Donna
wow.
Summer, Casablanca Records. And I was to start the traffic manager. So I kind of got things done. I kind of took the client's requirements and funneled them to the right departments and all that stuff. And I did really well there. I stayed there for quite a while. And that was my first, and to call it a corporate job is kind of funny because it was an ad agency and we handled very kind of funky accounts. So that was my corporate thrust. Had a couple of other jobs, but somewhat soon I had 2 children, not that close apart, but 2 years apart. And I had 2 babies, and I was very busy working, and I was not in control of my time. And I realized I wanted to control more of my existence to have a better, and we never really used this term back then, but work life integration. I didn't want my kids to only know the nanny. And in fact, that was happening. I was at work very late. My husband did a tremendous amount of work travel. My kids were fine. My nanny was great. But I felt that I was missing out. I was the person who felt worse about
Mhm.
everything. So that's when I decided to start a business. I wasn't, and when I said a business, I would have said the business if I knew what the business was. But I thought about what I was good at, and what I was really good at was sales. I wasn't a sales trainer, but I knew how to get clients intrinsically. So I called up people I knew. I sat down and called up contacts. It wasn't like networking, but I called up contacts. I started getting a couple of little gigs, doing certain degree of training and strategy. And then the first person I hired was someone to help me with business development, because what I realized, and this is a big question for people who are solopreneurs and have small businesses, when you're doing what you do, you very rarely have the time to grow your business and get new clients because you're spending most of your time doing the work. Somehow I was smart enough to realize that peaks and valleys can kill you, really kill your business, and figure out a way to make that more level. So I hired someone, barely had enough money to pay her, started out part-time, and I had her do cold calling for me. I had her do networking for me. I had her do all sorts of business development. So that kept my pipeline full while I was busy doing the work. Because if you're busy at client engagements doing training, it's very hands-on. All you think about is that training. You can't get off the mark. You got all these people watching you. You're writing the training programs. No AI to write them for you. No tools really so much back then.
Right.
Very time consuming. And that was a smart thing I did. I don't think I was just, it was practical. I'm kind of practical. Like, how can you do all, you can't be all things to all people. And I knew the core thing people were buying me for was what I delivered in front of their sales departments,
You
or
know,
they're working with them.
it's interesting you say that because it's always the shoemaker shoe story, right? It's that's the shoemaker shoe. And I'm guilty of that too. I'm guilty of that because you're always, thinking about all your clients and everything else like that. You're not promoting yourself, and that's you have to. Yeah, you have to.
100%. And you need to think about what can what number one, what do I do best? What do people give us money for? My definition, I mean, I think people think I say it so much, but I'm sure people like roll their eyes back. If you don't have clients who will pay you for your product or service, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. You may be working towards turning it into a business. I get that, but I know a lot of people who do more pro bono stuff, and I don't
Yeah,
mean for like not for profit. They just do pro bono stuff because no one will
yeah,
pay them. So
yeah.
you think about what do people really pay you for, and you can get more of it. Now only you can do, and everything else you can outsource, or should be thinking about how you can outsource it, because they're buying me to do training, they're buying me to sit down and run a strategy meeting and give them ways to scale their business. But they're not hiring me to be developing email campaigns to grow my business or doing some technical stuff, or certainly my books. I mean, the first thing I outsourced really was anything to do with my accounting. Bookkeeping and accounting are definitely not my strong suit.
Oh yeah, same here. I'm guilty. Same thing.
Absolutely. I tried to do it myself for a little while.
No, it's not. No, it doesn't pay
Was
you. So
no,
you get the professionals. And actually, I think I one time I got like sent back from the IRS, and that's it. That's it. I said, you know what? I have to hire professionals to do it. And ever since, yeah,
100%. because you have to
Exactly.
stay on top of that.
Absolutely.
That is not something you
You
just fool
mess around.
around with.
No. Oh no, 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 no. I know I learned that lesson. You talked about hobbies, and having a passion. Do any hobbies or interests that you have?
So that's work-life balance for me. So my core things, and I indulge in them a huge amount. I travel a lot.
Yes.
Always did. My children's first flights were when they were 6 weeks old.
Oh wow.
Okay. So I've always traveled. So extensive travel, overseas, extensive travel. I love doing photography. I would never consider myself a professional photographer, but I have some really good pictures that have had people ask me to buy. I've had people ask if I can give them uh, the proof of something so they could blow it up. I didn't shoot it in high def, so they actually could not do what they wanted to do. Photography, travel. I'm a big theater nerd and museum nerd. That's why New York's so important to me. Go to museums all the time, go to the theater a ton. Music. I like to hang out with friends in dive bars. The diving, the better. Read a ton. I read a lot. I run a Facebook group here in Port Washington. I'm in a book club, but travel's a big passion of mine. It feeds all of my senses. And when I can travel, like with COVID, that was a very serious, shaky mental time for me. And so what we did almost at the very beginning, once the first month went by and we realized this wasn't ending anytime soon. I mean, we all thought it was going to be 2 weeks, right? Like a month, maybe. I started going to Airbnbs, like local, like 3 hours away, 2 hours away. And we did it. We were like, I used to bring a complete, like all my linens. I would bring my comforter, I bring sheets, we'd bring all the stuff and scour the kitchen before we knew anything, right? But at least, and we couldn't go anywhere. All it was is I was in a new house, but I was in a new area and we did lots of hiking because that's what you could do. You could be outside and hike. So I probably got much healthier then, actually, in a funny sort of way because of COVID. But I really miss traveling internationally. I miss going to different cultures, different food, different sights, different smells. That diversity is really important for me. Really important to me.
What's your favorite memorable place you traveled to?
Oh gosh,
Like,
there's so many. I mean, I really, really, really loved Tokyo. I really love Cartagena.
wow. My
Very,
brother went to Tokyo.
yes, I know, I know.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Um, I
I'm
love
jealous. I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
there's just so many places, and I like different places for
It,
for different reasons. I go back to places. I went back to London 2 weeks ago and had really a fantastic trip. I've been in London, I don't know, 15, 20 times. There's
mhm.
always something there though.
Yeah.
Um,
I,
it's exciting
I
to
I don't know if a lot of people may know this, but I used to do consulting for the telecommunication company in London, and I used to travel to London. So it was not. It was that red eye is the worst because you leaving JFK and then going to Heathrow and then going to work, going to the office and having no sleep. It's a rough, getting used to.
so I agree, but so here's what I do. I'm a very good traveler. First of all, I never pack anything. Second, I mean, I don't ever check luggage. Never, ever, ever. But my rule, red eye going to Tokyo, we did this. You land, uh, immediately get on to the time zone you're in and you push through, even if you're working, you push through, drink coffee or whatever, however you take your caffeine or whatever energy drink, push through, stay on the time zone, eat dinner when they eat dinner, and don't go to bed don't nap the whole afternoon away, and certainly don't go to sleep at 6 p.m. Push yourself. I mean, push yourself to like at least 9. I know it seems outrageously late, and then go to sleep. So when you wake up, you're on their time zone, because
Yeah,
otherwise you're going to wind up always being sleepy at different weird
yeah,
times.
yeah. It takes a day or two to be
Have to
adjusted.
you have to have the grit, just go through
E-
it. But especially if you're
Exactly.
traveling for a week, you don't want to lose 3 or 4 days
Yeah. I
sleeping. weird
I
time.
I always like traveling in the West because you can sleep because they're always behind, 3 hours behind. Especially when we went to Hawaii, it's that's like that was nice, 'cause you always go behind.
Yes, yes. I don't sleep on airplanes. I'm not really a great sleeper anyway. Certainly I don't sleep on airplanes, but I am good at like rising above situations, and so
Mhm.
just pushing through. It you know, my husband traveled a tremendous amount and traveled very long distances. I mean, he had tons of work in Singapore. I mean, as far as you can go, the longest flights you can go. Went to Australia, and he also would land, and in many cases had to go straight to an office. And what his rule was, and he told his clients when he got there, no conference room meetings. We have to keep moving. Luckily, he had to be on site. He's an architect, so he would say, this is when we go to the site visits, keep me moving, because the second I sit down, I'm going to get very foggy. But if you keep me moving, I'll be better off. And that was, you know, that's a good rule of thumb. When you're tired, the kiss of death is sitting
Yeah.
down at a meeting. Really
Well,
is.
thank you for the tip. And talk about rule of thumbs or tips or advice. I like to call this segment of the meeting, it's the golden moment time. So any piece of advice that can help a fellow business person or somebody with their career or anybody, what a valuable piece of information you could leave behind.
Oh gosh, there's so
So
many, so many. Yeah, I think the thing that I'm continually astounded by, and so I don't know if it's the most valuable, but I know how much time and energy and money you will waste if you don't do this. It's We're all engaged in all this networking, business development, we're being introduced to people, we're on LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera. But understand that it's a process that the person you met and you had this great synergy with may not have an introduction for you, or may not have work for you for weeks, months, and maybe years. So you have to stay on the radar screen. You can't afford to fall off, because as much as I like you, I'm not waking up 1 week later with you top of mind. I'm just not. I don't care who you are. So figure out a really impactful touch point management system. Don't be so presumptuous that you can say, I'm checking in, and someone is even going to remember who you are, nor are they going to have time for that check in. So, the key tip is add value to the relationship before you really even have that relationship. It's super easy to do. How? You know, one, invite them to visit WOW on, Winning on Wednesday. Send them an invitation to one of Juan's events. Send them to an invitation to a Chamber of Commerce event, to something you were speaking at, to something that you may not be attending, but you know it's of value. Make an introduction for them, a proactive introduction, not a reactive introduction. That's really boring. Or share a really good TED Talk, share a blog that you read that added value, write 1 or 2 lines about why you thought it was great so you don't look like you didn't even read it, and add value. Don't refer to, do you have work for me? Do you have an intro for me? Based on what we talked about, we should be able to work together now. Make it more genuine, so they really understand that you were thinking of them. And once you do that, now you'll pop into their brain. They'll say, oh yeah, Adrian, oh, that's nice of her to invite me to this. Oh wow, that's a great video. Or I'm glad she thought of me. And I make a point of, I try to send things, I a handwritten note, I send a book. Okay, I'm lucky enough to have written some books, so I send a book I wrote, but I've also sent other books from other people. Um, but it's hard. It's one of the most hard
you
parts, difficult parts of sales.
Yeah, and it's always about the soft sell too, and keeping behind in people's mind, like you just said, and email marketing is, I'm gonna tell you a story of email marketing, and you're gonna probably cringe when I tell you this. So I'm a reseller for Constant Contact, right? And I had a free account for 10 years. Free account for 10 years. I never used it. Yeah, I told you you're cringe. You never used it. Not until I start to use it for my networking platform, and then I'm starting to see the numbers, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm seeing who's engaged. The system is just phenomenal to see who you gives you a reference point. And I so much information about data. Data, I didn't realize how important data is, and you can see, the engagement, how many people are open rate. So I have a phenomenal open rate, 38% open rate in my Constant Contact. So it's really great, and so you learn, from the numbers, and the numbers, like I say, they lie, and it gives you an idea of reference. And also, you said something interesting about sharing, and it brought me back. Remember the early days when everybody was emailing? People, I remember people used to forward me jokes. Remember, people used to be the chain link of all the jokes and stuff like that. But
Yep.
even stuff like that was like funny, valuable.
Yep.
But and sharing information, recipes, sharing stuff that's going to be valuable. That even today, I'd still do that to some of my colleagues where I'm not in the industry. From my one of my business partners that travel, in the industry, and any things like I saw a video, I forward videos. That's another thing that I'm doing now. A lot of TikTok videos, 60-second videos, or YouTube videos, anything that I find interesting of value to
Yep.
people that I know, trust, and like, who are in my inner circle. I will always do that because it could benefit with information, whether it be a video
I
about ChatGPT or something else like that, or anything that it could be valuable. That's tremendous. But thank you. So wow, it's a lot of stuff that you talked about it that you gave. It's great advice, by the way. Thank you for that. The other thing is I wanted to ask you is I know you have your own networking platform. Besides that, do you belong to other communities or any other organizations or other spheres of
I
influence?
I I don't really belong to anything as a member. I visit some a little more regularly. However, I've written out some of initiatives for 2024 already because I'm doing that with my clients, and I don't want to be the shoemaker and with worn out shoes in this regard because I'm kind of pivoting my business a little bit. So I've been quite diligent looking at certain things, and now there are certain things happen interestingly that showed up in my inbox um, from groups that I've never attended. I'm not really very close with the people who are running it, but I'm going to visit because I don't necessarily, not that there is anything wrong with it, and I wouldn't even say it was a waste of time, but there are groups that I am going to know a significant number of people. And if people say, you know everyone, of course I don't know everyone. I mean, networking has gotten to be global, but even in New York, I know one this much in New York. So it's interesting for me to go into some places where I didn't know anyone. So I've done a little bit more of that, and it's been fun. I still find some of the same thing in those groups that it kills me. So I went to one group and I thought it was really good. And I immediately, next day, reached out to people. I made excellent introductions for them. I mean, excellent. I knew they were excellent. Do you know that they neither followed up with the person, even when the other person touched them, or one person, I heard from the person I knew, like how great a conversation it was, and they were sure that stuff was going to happen, but the person never said a thank you. The other person, it's like, it's kind of it's first of all, it's basic etiquette, like, hey, thanks, that was awesome. And if you're going to engage, if you're going to spend the time on a Zoom, or you're going to go to a meeting, why aren't you going to follow up? Why did you waste your time? Did you think that on the Zoom, somebody was going to lean forward and go, I got your next $50,000 gig, and I'm going to like send you the contract right now?
Mm.
It what are in people's heads? I don't know.
Yeah, the what I normally do, I just make introductions and that's it. It's one of those things. And but it also shows also the type of person, if they are fully invested, right? If they are going to do it and follow through, then those are the people, talk about value, show value, right? Those are the people that you want to work with. But people that don't follow through, don't do anything, they'll say thank you. I don't want to work with those people. So it's like they're doing me a favor just by,
Take themselves out. Yeah.
exactly. They're doing this, but people that follow through, people that will execute, those are the people that I want to do business with because they're taking the time to write me back. They're taking the time to do that. But the other people, yeah, to your point, I've done that so many times, and you know what? It's a shame sometimes too because there's people that you hit it off, you like them, and they're like, oh my god, we hit a poor, and it just goes. Exactly. It's like
On
it, but
100%. It was so funny. This morning I got someone introduced me to someone, and I did a little follow-up. She happens to live in Denver. I go to Denver once a month, once every 6 weeks, so I was excited. And she said, I think we met quite some time ago, and I really didn't remember her name. So I went back through my email archives, and in August 2010, we had lunch together.
yeah,
And I copied and pasted. I said, good for you for
yes.
remembering my name, and good for my email for me to have it archived. Oh
Oh
my
my,
God.
yeah. I use Gmail. So, and the beauty of Gmail, I go way back. I could go back to 2000 and it's 3 or 5 or something like that. It's really
Yeah,
crazy that I could go back,
yeah,
and it's nice that I could
great.
do that. You know what? I want to, that reminds me, the first time we met was with at Maria Prieto's event, which was the Hispanic Network. If you recall the Hispanic Network of
I
Maria
do.
Prieto,
She moved to Florida,
she
right?
moved to Florida. She moved to Florida. Yep, she's
I'm a
doing well.
realtor.
She's a realtor, yes, and a painter. She does painting too.
Yes.
She does
Yes.
painting.
I saw her paint.
Fabulous. Yes, she does great painting. So
Fabulous.
yeah, so
Yeah.
she was also driving force, Maria Prieto. So, but she moved. But I remember she was a networker, and you were at the event, one of the events. I
Yeah.
think it was at the Westbury.
Yeah.
That's where I first met you. That many years ago. And then and it's interesting because over the years, people had told me about join Adrian's network, and I'm like, yeah, look, I wasn't like really like into the networking or never invested. And then I had a I forget what it was. It was quite a few people had recommended me to your networking, and then finally I decided to take the jump and the plunge, and I would join the networking. And I remember we met at Louis. We had lunch at Louis at the
Yeah.
yeah. It was that was
Yeah.
great.
There's, I mean, I go
It's
way back in
and
networking,
and
ABA.
and the rest was history because the best thing was I always tell people I got you introduced me to a law firm that I ended up doing their website, their SEO and everything else like that. So okay, so check this out, folks. I invested how much is the membership now?
It's still the same one. I have not changed it. 20 a month, 49 a quarter, or 189 a year.
Okay, 199 a year. Okay. And just so that you know, Adrian introduced me to a law firm that I ended up making $13,000. That's what Adrian does for people. And I could vouch for that. And I always recommend people to go to Adrian's network. Always 100%. No, thank you and I will never forget it. I'm always that type of person that I never forget what people will do for me. And you were somebody that, took the time to meet with me, to had lunch, and to introduce me to the law firm. And that's why I've always been, in Adrian's, always recommended. I brought people to your network, obviously, but it's always recommended. It's always referring. It's always about doing the right thing. And for me, I'm always grateful. When somebody does something positive to me like that, I'm always grateful. So, and
Yeah.
that's why we're here. We're here. We're still all these years. After all these years, we're still here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your services. So tell us about all your services, what you have,
So,
your
uh,
goals.
as I said before, sales, consulting and training, and that can mean, sometimes I say that not people aren't 100% sure, 100% sure what I mean. So if you're a solopreneur or a very small business, chances are you went into business because you had an interest or a real core competency in some particular service or product that you're manufacturing or distributing. You didn't go into business because you love and are expert at sales and marketing. Probably not. In fact, you may hate it. I know so many entrepreneurs who go, "Oh my God, I hate selling." And they're IT people, they're coaches, they're any business. They do title, they don't like this, they don't want to sell. Okay. So it can mean working one-on-one with someone who's a business owner and talking about the competencies involved in selling, but also talking about sales strategy. What are the things I have to do to get more new clients? What are the things I have to do to grow my existing clients? Because that's a really important part in business. So that whole sales, and then I work with larger companies where I'm training departments and teams, maybe in multiple cities, etc. A lot of that's being done by Zoom now because some of those are and were far away. I used to travel a lot, and then all of a sudden people said, "Whoa, I can do this by Zoom. I don't have to have her fly here." I do write content. I love writing content. LinkedIn posts, blogs, newsletters, sales materials, web content, PowerPoints. If it has words, I don't write books. I don't want to ghostwrite a book ever. I really don't. I've written three of my own, and I just know what it takes, and I don't want to ghostwrite a book. And I do run a networking community. It's a kind of a unique thing. We do have in person, we do have Zoom, but we also we're not one per category. We have an extensive number of things going on a month. We have a lot of social stuff going on. I believe in having fun. I don't think, as I know Juan knows, networking is developing relationships. I can develop an awesome relationship with you over a meal. We had a networking event where we went to a massage therapist, and people got massaged, and while people were getting massaged, the rest of us sat around and networked. We can go to the theater and we can talk in intermission, and it's amazing how we're going to bond. We can learn how to make dumplings together. And last week was our best. We went on a walking, this group was all native New Yorkers. We went on a walking tour of the West Village, stopping along the way at 3 iconic bars, and had wonderful adult beverages and learned a lot about our city. And tightened relationships, because it's as Juan started, it's trust, respect, appreciation that enables you to introduce people or to give somebody work. And that doesn't have to happen on a Zoom call or at a conference table. So we really incorporate a lot of different things. It's been fun. It's been great. It continues to be fun. I like making introductions. I've done it before it was called networking. I don't know what they called it. And I'm always proactive. It's sort of like, I don't know if you guys have business together, and I don't know if you ever will, but I think you're going to like each other a lot. And because of that, you're going to probably try to help each other. And the reason you're going to like each other a lot is you both are really like you're real wine collectors, or you are both run marathons, or you both have an extraordinary number of children. Like you both have 7 children. You two should get together and figure out how different life hacks. What do you do when you have 7 children? Anything that I see people are very passionate about, therefore they're going to bond on it, and then they're going to take it away. They're going to take it away. I don't have to have someone say to me, "Do you know a web designer?" for me to make introductions, because I don't feel like that's really networking. I feel like that's just like I don't feel taking an order on the phone. If you pick up, go, "Hi, thank you for calling. How can I help you?" And the person says, "I want to order this." And you say, "Oh, thank you very much. Let me repeat the order back. Goodbye." You're not a salesperson. You're an order taker.
Yeah.
I'm a salesperson if you try to cross-sell, upsell, or do something like that. But you're not a salesperson. You're an order taker. And actually, as long as you have an appropriate vocal quality, you could be 10 years old and do that job. 10. No, you don't have to be any older than that. As long as you have any minor proficiency on the computer. And 10-year-olds, God, these days are probably better than me. So those are my businesses. I'm working very hard in 24 to bring in more entrepreneurs and smaller businesses. I have such a blast because I get to see the results and I feel so good about it. I mean, I work with really big companies, and let's just face it, um, they're going to survive no matter what. These are name brands. Trust me, they're not going out
Yeah,
of
yeah,
business.
yeah.
Um, and it's the bureaucracy of getting through. I like dealing with the people who say, yeah, that sounds cool, let's do it. That's so great to me. That's really great. So it's exciting. I'm always real pumped up at the beginning of the new year, I guess like everybody is, but I start in October making my plans and doing some research about my plans, trying to figure out, maybe even doing a little beta test of things before I want to cast my ship. And networking is going to always stay a big part of my life. I'm trying to get more speaking gigs
Okay.
because it's fun for me. So
Wow.
I like doing
And
fun.
Adrian, if people want to learn more about you, and what's the best way to contact you?
Um, so if you want to look at me and not talk to me, but you want to look before you talk, you can just go to LinkedIn, Adrian Miller. It's my face, you'll see it. Um, adrianmiller.com is my sales training website. And it tells a little bit more about me. amiller@adrianmiller.com. I do answer emails and I'm very responsive. I like to talk on the phone, so my telephone number is in all my materials. Um, and I am active on LinkedIn. I really am active on LinkedIn. So I'm there. I'm not a LinkedIn coach or consultant. Those people who must be there all day. But I check it regularly during the day and see. And I like to make sure I answer direct messages and respond to a comment and stuff like that. I think that's important. It's a lot
Well,
on everybody's plate now.
well, Adrian, thank you so much. This has
Thank
been
you.
wonderful spending some time with you. It's been great. You've been, you're a leader, you're a mentor. I love you. You're great, and you're a fellow network. You're a friend at the end, and thank you
So
so much
much.
for having
I
this.
really appreciate it. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it. We'll have to meet
Thank you.
Louise again.
Yes, we'll do Louise again. Okay, thank you.
Good for
And
food.
thank you for having it. And if you would like to be a member of Winning on Wednesday, simply go to our website, winningonwednesday.com, and sign up for the first time guests and follow directions. And we hope to see you next time. Thank you again, Adrian.
Thank you.